All right, welcome back for step 4, which is preparing your video shoot. Now, this is where we start getting all of our stuff together. This is where it starts getting a little bit fun. Now that you have your video scripted out, it's time to prepare and actually get all of your items ready. So now, depending on the style of your video, will really dictate kind of your what you need to prepare for. So let's kind of get into some basics and some tenets that we will want to make sure. So in the beginning, you will admittedly need to do more preparation, and eventually you'll just get the hang of it, and you'll need less and less preparation for each video. But this is a good starting point about what to think about in terms of preparing. Number one is your props and materials, right? You know, do you need to purchase anything or gather anything in order to do the video? We talked about how to captivate attention. One of the ways is for props. Are you going to use an item or something to grab somebody's attention, right? Any last minute Amazon purchases that you need to do, or a quick run to Target or anything like that. Anything that would just set your video off right, or kind of what would start it in a way that grabs attention, right? Make sure to gather and organize everything in one bag, or better yet, put everything in your car already so you don't forget it, because I've been known to get all the way somewhere and then realize, oh my goodness, I forgot something that's like small and seemingly insignificant, but it like makes everything that much more difficult. It's not a fun time, right? Number two, the outfit or your hair and makeup, and it seems self-explanatory, but when you're in the middle of gathering all of these important things, you'd be surprised at what you forget, right? Pro tip: bring an extra shirt. It's inevitable that you spill something on yourself shortly before your shoot, right? I've done this many times where I'm drinking water or I'm drinking coffee before or whatever, and I've spilled it on my shirt just because I'm nervous and I'm just rushing and all that. It's not a fun time, right? Number three, location, right? Make sure your location ties in to the topic of your video, right? So be aware of background noise, the direction of the sun, and how busy the scene is. Are the cars driving by, people walking through, or whatever? Take note of that, right? Visit the location before your actual shoot so you can kind of mentally and visually plan out where you want the camera located, where you're going to be, or whatever it is that you're going to be shooting, right? You might want to find out if you need to bring different items or anything like that you were originally planning, right? When you're visiting the location. Number four is the lighting, right? What you actually need to bring in terms of lighting, or how you need to set things up in terms of lighting, right? Phone cameras generally are not great in lower light situations, right? So be mindful of how much light there is. So if you're outside, kind of general rule, you want to position yourself approximately 45 degrees from a light source. You don't want it directly on your face. You don't want it across here, because if it's directly, you get kind of washed out and it'll look kind of flat. If it's over to the side, you'll have dramatic shadows. You'll notice in cinematic films or anything like that, whenever it's a high tense emotional situation, the lighting will be across the face and it'll have a good grimace, like a lot of when they light up the villain or the antagonist of a video to do that. You don't want to be the antagonist of your own film, right? If you have additional lighting, set it up in a similar way, right? So if you are inside, you want to have that light approximately 45 degrees to yourself. We could talk about other stuff later, right? But do a test recording, turning yourself in different directions to see what's the best for you in that situation, right? So stand at the same time of day that you're planning on being there and just film it and just try to figure out, okay, if I do here, feel free. Practice, play around with it. Don't try to be like one and done on every single shoot, right? Here's a bonus tip. I personally love this. You probably notice it in the background where it's red right now when I change the colors based upon the video. An RGB light is a really cool way to kind of spice up your videos and bring variety to it. If it's the same location, you can kind of change it up with changing the props or changing the lighting or whatever. If you notice, I put one in the rear so that it kind of lights things up. It kind of changes it from just being like a white office, if that makes sense. Microphone. Audio is thought of as more important than the actual video itself. The microphone is my recommendation as the first purchase. If you're going to spend money on anything, it should be a microphone, right? It could even be something like a $20 thing off of Amazon. You'd be surprised at the difference it can make. It's not as important if you're just doing like selfie videos with the camera looking at your face, if it's within arm's length, but it can make a huge difference if you're further away or if you're changing camera directions or you're moving around. I would recommend starting with a simple wired lapel microphone for 20 bucks on Amazon. I'll put some links down below, as well as at the very end, the resource guide in terms of what I recommend buying in what order. I'll have that for you. Also, camera settings. Step 6. Many people aren't even aware that you can change the resolution or the quality on your iPhone camera. I always personally like to do 4K resolution at 30 frames per second, but it does take up a lot of storage on your phone, so just be mindful of that. To be honest, right, the majority of social media platforms will not really post higher than 1080p resolution. Like Vimeo or whatever, like they might do like higher quality stuff. YouTube does allow that, but it's really, when it's on a phone screen or anything, it's not that important. You'd be surprised at how little video quality actually matters on social media, right? So I personally like shooting in higher resolution just in case I want to kind of crop it in a little bit more, but I wouldn't go any lower than 1080. I wouldn't record in 720 or 480 or whatever like that. Just at least make it at 1080 or 4K is a good general rule, right? Also, battery and storage level, you'd be surprised, right? Seems simple, but it can ruin your shot if your phone runs out of battery or if it runs out of storage. Oh my God, I can think of it specifically right now. I remember I was doing a video series, and I was like take after take after take screwing it up, and I finally was like just on a roll, like going with it, and all of a sudden this little notification said out of storage, and it just shut down the recording, and I was so bummed, right? So don't do that. Make sure you have enough storage, make sure you have enough battery life, right? Double check your storage settings or delete unnecessary storage. If you're running low, add it to iCloud or whatever. In a PDF down below, I do have kind of some click by clicks, but it's pretty simple. It's just in the settings, and you just double check to make sure the storage is good, right? Always make sure it's charged, or get a rechargeable external power bank. You'd be surprised how many times I've had to use that, where I've just plugged it in. It's just like this little battery looking thing with a cable. Boom, it charges it while it's going. So it's awesome, right? On the thing, I do have a quick tutorial on how to check your storage, so make sure you take a look at that. Tripod or phone stabilizer. This is pretty important as well as you start to do more video. In the beginning, in all honesty, you're going to be doing a lot of selfie stuff or a lot of like filming like this. It's not as important. But how do you plan on setting up your phone, right? Are you going to hold it? Are you set up against a wall or a tripod or anything like that? It all works. It's just a matter of which one do you want to do for that specific shot. Don't get overwhelmed by the different options. I personally just use a cheap one for Amazon with a phone holder. I can show in another video, I'll share with you guys my exact personal setup, so that way you can see what I've used and in what order I bought things in, what things I regret buying, what things I actually use, right? The good news is that it shouldn't show up in the videos. It really doesn't matter what you use, as long as it holds the phone or as long as the phone doesn't fall or anything like that. The only recommendation is to plan it in advance, right? You don't want to show up and then all of a sudden be like, oh crap, where's it going to go? And then you have to change the whole setup of your shot, right? Step 9, rehearse the dialogue. Just because you wrote out the script doesn't mean that you're ready to record. You'd be surprised at what happens when you're staring at that red blinking record button, right? Practice your dialogue. I can't tell you how many times I've had to reshoot and reshoot and reshoot because I just wasn't as prepared as I should have been, right? There's probably so much freaking blackmail material out of me screwing up scenes. That's one of the things when I used to hire a professional videographer when I was really new and I just needed to get it done, which we could talk about that as well. But there's so much footage, and I would always ask them at the end, like, give me like a super cut of all the bloopers. It's really funny, and sometimes that is fun to show and to share your blooper reels just to humanize you, right? Because we're so worried about coming off like perfect or professional on every shot. People like you, for you, right? Really get things going. Like, let them see the reality. As long as you're not like cursing all the time, like certain things can be funny, right? But like as long as it's not like angry or whatever, right? I personally like to record myself saying the whole scene out just to check also the flow of the video to see how long the video is, because if I'm trying to do short form video at 59 seconds or less and I record the video and it's like 1 minute and 50 seconds, I'm like, all right, I gotta redo this, right? So sometimes it's better to do one just test run where you're not worried about how you look or whatever, but it's actually just to get the whole thing out of your mouth as well as onto the recording to see how long it actually is. And it's better to do that before you get out to the location and just practice, practice, practice. So in summary, There's a lot that goes into the preparation of a recording of a video, right? And in the beginning, you will put a ton of time into the preparation just because it's new. And after a while, you'll just be able to grab and go like the best of them, right? So put in the time and the effort now so it will become second nature for you down the line. And make sure you download down below. I have a preparation checklist of all of the things that we talked about with checklists, with the check marks, as well as details in case you want to add everything in. It's what I personally would find huge value in to help make sure I don't forget anything, especially as I'm starting now, or especially if I were starting now. But I hope this video was helpful for you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.